Sie hören Sport und Musik.
Das Spiel ist aus! Deutschland ist Weltmeister!
In a world where fans fight over whether to call it football, or soccer, two German men defy the odds and call it Fußball. Bringing you inside the German-American football experience. And now, here are your hosts, the Schnitzel Boys.
Yeehaw! I was just thinking, what's the German equivalent to yeehaw?
I don't know. Ahoy?
Ahoy? Isn't that more of a bold pirate talk? Or oop-la-la, shoop-la-la, like oompa.
Hopla! Hippa! Hippa!
Oh, you know what? It's probably opla. I think that's it. Opla!
Hopla! Hey now! Hello!
Hello. Just a heads up, you're peaking a little bit on my cans here.
I am?
No, I think when you yell into the mic.
How about now? I'm not gonna scream the whole time.
Well, sometimes, because you have a lot to scream about. We had a good week overall.
Oh yeah, what a difference, huh? What a difference a week makes, right? Amazing.
That's right. We'll say
amazing.
So we have a lot of Germany stuff to talk about. We have a lot of USA stuff to talk about. So one of the two of us, a couple things. One of the two of us had family from the old country visit us. That's one of the two of us. And then one of the two of us very quickly, impromptu, seemingly, hopped the pond and went to the old country for like the weekend.
Yep.
The old country being Germany. I hung out in Germany for 2 days. And that man was you, Bjorn.
That was
Welcome
me.
back to the United States of America, land of the free, land of the brave. You were just in Germany for how long? How many days? Like you were there for like an afternoon, right? You flew
basically
out there for 4 hours and flew back.
Basically, it was kind of like that. It was my mother's birthday. My mother is 75. But I just danke. And so I don't know. I went back and forth. I just had a big trip, so I didn't have time to spend a lot of time in Europe. But I also felt like I didn't want to miss it, so I went. And
how long were you there for?
It's a blur. I was there for like less than 48 hours total.
Really? That short?
Yeah, It was very short. I arrived like midday Friday and left again Sunday morning. Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah, that is.
And never really fully. Obviously you don't get over jet lag really in that time, and it was a little bit kind of drowsy the whole way, but
you flew
happy to see my family. I flew private jet, of course. I took the Schnitzel jet. Thank you. Thank you for letting me have it. Thank you for letting me have it this weekend.
For a small media operation, I figure the first. Yeah,
I mean, in New York, things are centrally located. I don't get to use it that much. You fly from you use it to go from Burbank to Santa Monica.
But, I use it all the time to go between Burbank and Santa Monica.
So it was. I was happy to be able to use it this weekend.
You're welcome. Never again. It's mine now.
If you go by, I finished all the tequila. I'm sorry.
What? That's okay. I'll hop down I'll be in Tijuana in 15 minutes. I'll replenish that. No problem.
You can just replenish quickly. I figured it wouldn't be a problem. With the private Schnitzel jet, it's much easier. I flew Condor Airlines, which is like a charter.
I've never heard of that airline.
I know. It's a little, and there was definitely some chaos, especially on the way there. There was a lot of like activity when we got to the gate. There was a lot of activity. A lot of people running around, sort of talking to each other, people in like neon vests coming in and out of, and there was there's a lot of, and finally we were told that they had to switch out the airplane at the last minute. and so that took some time, but we were not very delayed. I don't know. It all went well with Condor in the end. But it was, there was a little chaos. But anyway, so it was all a blur.
It's a chartered. Hold on. What do you mean chartered?
Well, charter meaning, I think charter airlines, I think traditionally are those airlines that are used to be run by basically tour operators, and they would only go to like vacation spots or
how
whatever.
many people
Condor
were on the plane with you? How many people were on the plane?
No, there were lots of people. No, it was a big plane.
Oh, really?
It was a giant plane. It was like any other. It's like any other plane. There were, it was like rows of, what was it? 12, I guess. 4 in the middle and 2 on the side. It was a big plane. No, charter, not meaning like it's a private.
It's like I don't know.
Small in any way. No, it's just your regular. I guess. They used to be LTU was a charter airline like that. They just go like uncertain. It's not like they have regular. I don't know. I mean, maybe this distinction is no longer that like it's like Lufthansa would do. They go every day from JFK to Frankfurt twice or whatever. Like, and every day twice at the same time, whatever. They have these regularly scheduled flights, whereas charter airlines would just go when there's vacation time, or like they would only go like at certain times when there's demand. And I think
so. What's the route we're talking here? Was this a New York to Frankfurt?
JFK to Frankfurt. Yeah, you can no longer you can no longer fly to Düsseldorf. My parents are only 20 minutes from Düsseldorf, but there are no longer direct flights from New York to Düsseldorf. So I had to so I went to Frankfurt, and then I took a train for an hour and a half.
Right. Okay. Well, it still works. That's great. We'll talk soon. Good. We'll talk soon. It's a little preview to a little comment I have. There's 2 German cities that are also about an hour and a half away by train. And I'll talk about why that's important later in the podcast. Okay. So a little nugget, a little food for thought. But anyways, that's amazing. So you flew Germany for 2 days, and you watched MLS when you were there, right? Because we texted, and you're like, "I'm in Germany." I
did, yeah. I mean, it was the Derby, the New York Derby, or the Hudson River Derby.
It was live on ALD, right? It was live on German national television,
and it was, no, it was not. Right? On national. In fact, it is now, it's now so fragmented that I had to install a VPN on my phone to watch it with my American subscription, because the Germans couldn't get it together. Like they had to, they couldn't get Bundesliga. First it was Bundesliga. I was watching the Revier Derby between Dortmund and Schalke.
Wait a minute, you watched that on American TV?
I had to, because it was like my parent. Well, my parents are not big. My parents are not big soccer people, so they do not subscribe to any of the premium.
And but my Germany, brother, it's a special package.
Yeah, it's like Sky. I guess it's Sky, or you have to get the special. But my brother, who does DAZN, exactly. And my brother has all the subscriptions, but he couldn't get it on my parents' TV, or he couldn't get it on his phone. Like it was a big. It was weird. I had to employ the VPN to watch it on. Yeah, it's like ESPN's, I guess we'll just watch it on ESPN Plus. Yeah, like every week. And the same with the MLS game. I had to watch it on my Yes app with the VPN, which fortunately worked. And it was on DAZN in Germany, so we could have watched it, but it was none of my family members was able to get it together. To me,
that would be cool. I want to watch that, because I would love to see a German language broadcast of an MLS game. I just think that'd be fun.
I have done that in the past. I have done actually, interestingly, another kind of legendary Hudson River Derby where David Villa got a hat trick a few years ago. That was also I was in Germany for that one, and I watched that on DAZN.
Oh, nice! I've seen
with German commentary.
I've seen MLS highlights in German on Sport 1 on Monday night. Sometimes they have like an MLS MLS Zusammenfassung, or whatever it's called.
Zusammenfassung.
For like a 30-minute show. And, they talk about it, and then they reference the German players. I remember there was some player who scored a goal for Real Salt Lake who was a former Bundesliga player or German player. And they're like, the former Cologne player got a goal, blah, 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 or whatever, They make it interesting. It's just like, cool, good that exists. I just think that's fun. But yeah, I had family in from Germany. The reason I'm bringing that up is because I sat them down in my living room. You've been in my little living room here. And I showed them the $5 a month app I have, or whatever. I pay $15 a month for the Disney bundle. And I showed them that every German game is available to me anytime ever, right on my TV. And they were blown away. They're like, holy crap.
Blew their minds, yeah.
To get, and also even the Champions League and stuff, just another $5 for the Paramount Plus app. Just so easy here in the States, where in England and in Germany, it's not that easy. They divide it all amongst 3 different packages or something. So like Sky Sports is the satellite package you have to pay, I think, $20 or maybe even $40 a month for. And that's only the Saturday games. They do not have rights to Friday or Sunday games.
Yeah.
I think the Friday and Sunday games are the DAZN, which is some broadband web service, which I think is an American company, but they have their European presence. And then the national networks also have a deal where they get to show 1 or 2 games a year. Like they show the first game of the season, I think. That's like their deal. And then after that's just highlights packages. And then different services get to pay for highlights or something. It's very expensive to be able to have the kind of access that we have here in the United States. Which I find
we have it.
Funny.
We still have it. We still have it very good. I mean, even a few years ago, it was even easier. When things were just kind of available on cable TV for free with your package, and on the it has now with all the streaming services, it has become even a little more fragmented. And comparatively, it's still very very inexpensive and very accessible to be a soccer fan around here. So no, that's true. That's great. And even with VPN in Germany, I'm still the king versus their DAZN or whatever. DAZN, I always thought, I just learned that this weekend that's how it's pronounced. I was thinking of it as DAZN.
DAZN, DAZN.
DAZN, DAZN.
I've heard it out loud a few times, and it's DAZN, I guess.
It's DAZN, which is it's pretty stupid.
DAZN, very terrible.
DAZN.
But
it also, there's nothing to, I mean, I can appreciate a creative spelling or whatever, but there's nothing in DAZN that would suggest to anyone that should be pronounced DAZN. Yeah, there's
no O sound. There's no O sound. Like you have to put an O in there or something. Like just a little basic English lesson. Don't forget your vowels. That's all I can say. This is in Iceland. Okay, we have vowels around here.
DAZN.
It's DAZN. Well, but that's cool. So you were able to watch. So you watched some Bundesliga. I watched some Bundesliga as well.
I watched some Bundesliga. Yes. Talk to me.
I'm trying to think. What was our opening weekend? I remember we had the big Revier derby this weekend. We had Borussia Dortmund against Schalke, but it's a little bit different this year because Schalke is still recovering from their stint in the second division, and they're just fighting for survival. So Schalke was very defensive, didn't have much as far as moving forward. It was really Borussia Dortmund controlling most of the game. And it was just a matter of time before they got on the score sheet, which they eventually did later in the game. But as you mentioned earlier, it could have been better. It could have been more than a 1-0 win. It could have been a little higher, right?
Yeah, I thought so. I mean, there was definitely Dortmund had a lot of chances and was pretty dominant, and it took them a while to break through, but in the end they did, and it was a pretty deserved win. The Schalke roster looks pretty spotty, I would say. I don't know.
It's been like that for quite some time now, I think.
Yeah, I don't think I think they're gonna also kind of struggle a little bit with not getting relegated this season. They're definitely they don't have a lot of quality, but Dortmund, they struggled to score, and the scoreline is a little deceptive. I think Dortmund was definitely more dominant than the score suggests. And then poor Marco Reus got stretchered off yet again.
Yeah.
That guy is just a. But I heard, was it today or yesterday? The official word is that it is not a terrible injury. He's only going to be out for like 3-4 weeks. It looked bad. It looked like, he's gonna. This was another kind of terrible tear of some kind or whatever. But that doesn't seem to be the case.
Well,
I mean, at this point, I don't know.
Because he's made of glass, and like he missed. It's just he gets big injuries. He also gets big injuries around major tournaments. Like I don't think he's ever played. He played in the 2018 World Cup, which was funny because it was a terrible World Cup, but that was like the only major tournament he played in that I could think of. Was he at the last 2020?
I think he was in the Euro. I think the last time. Yeah, I believe.
But he missed a lot of major tournaments. Like
he's
the big
missed
one was
a lot
2014. He missed like he should have been at the World Cup in 2014, but he missed it.
For sure,
they won without him. So I remember they held up his jersey in the locker room afterwards and stuff. I think at the win and stuff, which was nice. But yeah, the dude's made of glass. But it's good that he's only out.
Oh, he did not. He was not in the Euro. Actually, I was
going to say I don't remember him being in the Euro.
He decided to not go because he was still recovering, and he was. No, that's true. I don't know if he's going to be in this. Has he been on the squad? I'm not sure. If he's
I was going to ask you, the German roster news has been kind of light. No one in German media is really talking about it a lot, to be honest. Right? They have a couple of friendlies coming up, like everybody else, but there isn't a lot of in and out. Will they? Won't they? It's not like the United States, where we always have talking points. National team maybe it doesn't have a lot of the fun, exciting talking points that we have here. Although
I don't think they have announced.
Maybe there's something I'm missing.
I don't think I mean, he must have announced he must have announced the roster, but I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Well, I just love discovering it at the World Cup because that's when you see what's going on. That's
well, they also
like what's his name? Robin Gosens was the big player of the Euros, and you didn't know much about him before that. And honestly, don't know much about him since.
A big, and then he had a big injury, and since then he's never been the same. Yeah, unfortunately. But it's going to be David Raum. It's going to be the Gosens of this World Cup, I think. Maybe.
Yeah, David Raum from Leipzig, right? We have Benjamin Heinrichs from Leipzig. I'm looking at here on Wikipedia. I don't know if this is the official roster, but Manuel Neuer, Andre ter Stegen, Kevin Trapp, no argument there. Rudiger, Ginter with Freiburg, who's having a good season. Zula is still on there. Tilo Kehrer, who's at West Ham these days. Robin Gosens at Inter Milan. David Raum. Kotschap. Amo Bella Kotschap from Southampton. That's a new one on me.
Oh, he got called in? Yeah, he deserves it. He's the Bochum. He's a Bochum guy. He just
is he?
Yeah, he just transferred to Southampton, and I'm glad to hear that. I was thinking that he would
not at Bochum. At Bochum they had to wait. Like, you still at Bochum or what? So when he went to Southampton, like, good. Now you're not at Bochum anymore. We can bring you in.
I wasn't sure he was going to be an immediate starter, but he has started every game, I believe, and he's been great. So I saw this coming, that he's due for a call up. I thought that maybe he wasn't going to make this World Cup, but maybe I'm wrong. Glad to hear it. That's very nice that he's getting.
Julian Brandt is involved, who's been poopy in the past, but lately has been pretty okay. And then Lucas Nemeka is on the squad as sort of our young number 9, along with Leroy Sané, Serge Gnabry, Timo Werner, and Thomas Muller. So Lucas Nemeka is the only sort of classic 9 we kind of have on the roster. With, I guess, Thomas Muller and Timo Werner there as like
Timo Werner, yeah. I mean, if Leroy Sané keeps playing the way he has for Bayern, it's gonna be interesting. Like, because that front line has been a little up and down at times, and there is, like you're saying, there isn't really a true number 9. Timo Werner likes to hang out by the corner flag.
That's right. Well, the reality is
And
Germany doesn't have a lot of creativity going on. Kind of apes the problem with Bayern München, but so like they hold the ball well, but when it comes to creativity in final third, they're lacking, which is why
yeah, we
Germany is
haven't.
such a Jekyll and Hyde team. Sometimes, what is it? They destroy Italy 5-0, but then they lose to Hungary 2-1 the week after. Or something like that.
Well, hopefully hopefully Goretzka is going to make it back in time. They haven't really found a place for Kai Havertz.
Right.
It's not clear how he fits in. So there's still a little bit of work to do. But I think especially defensively, they've kind of gotten it together. Rüdiger is now the real leader of the defense, which is good. There's a little bit of more fullback. There's more fullback quality with Raum, and so yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Who knows?
I mean, with Kimmich, Gundogan, and Goretzka in the midfield, you got to have a strong shout. That's a strong MMA. Eat your heart out.
the Kimmich Gundogan midfield, and they haven't played together all that much, but they've had a couple of moments in qualifying where you thought, oh, this really could be something if they sort this out. Yeah. No, it's good. And I'm really happy to hear that Bella Kotchup gets the call up, if that in fact is what happened.
Yeah, 20 years old. He's the youngest man on the roster that I see right here. The next youngest is Nemeka, 23, unless I'm missing something. No, we have Nico Schlotterbeck at 22. So, but they're the youngsters. Right. They're the youngsters. But no, it's looking like a good squad. Oh, hold on. Musiala is also on the roster, of course. Musiala at 19.
Musiala,
Kai Havertz at 23. But Kotchup is 20, so he's the second youngest after Musiala. But they have a good balanced squad. A lot of good, it looks like a lot of these players in the late 20s, with some good youngsters, a couple good vets. Mano Inoue in the late 30s. This is a strong, really balanced roster. Very quietly, a very strong, balanced roster. We'll see how they'll do. We'll see how they do. But yeah, back to the Bundesliga.
Yes.
We had
Bayern lost. Bayern lost to Augsburg.
The big thing is the Bundesliga is on its head again, right? Bayern München lost to Augsburg. That's real. That's the first sort of emergency we've seen because Bayern has dropped points. They've tied, but it's like, whatever. Did midweek games, whatever. But losing to Augsburg was like, okay, that was a pretty... Bayern is in crisis right now. Oliver Kahn have come out and given Julian Nagelsmann the vote of confidence.
Right? I saw that. Amazing, right? That he has to do that.
Oliver Kahn says we're not looking at other coaches right now. He said right now.
Oh my god.
Which is very funny.
Yeah.
He's like, we still believe in Julian and and do. So, but that is usually a preview.
That is not good. That is not good. Yeah.
You only get one of those. You don't get a second of those. So, his results to Champions League are great. They beat Barcelona 2-0. They beat Inter Milan 2-0. These aren't pushover teams. But then when it comes to domestic results, those are the more surprising ones against Augsburg. The minute you get Pepe, all of a sudden you're Bayern killers. So good on them.
And this was like you're saying, they were the first. There was that game against Gladbach where Jan Sommer had like 89 saves or whatever, and they've dropped some points where you were like, all right, that's kind of a fluke. They really should have won that, but this was not one of those. No. This was a legit win for Augsburg, and that is not.
Bayern München is missing Thiago more than and Lewandowski. They just got rid of their creativity and they got rid of their finishers. So it's like, they're holding the ball. They need a little more creativity up in that final third. Something's going on. They just need to figure it out. So, I think Bayern München sit fifth in the table. It's real. It's week 6.
Yeah.
Now, Bayern München has done this before. They've been sloppy in the first half of the season and picked it up. But I don't want to get to that right now, I'm still feeling confident that Bayern München have a really strong, long season, and the other clubs are not going to be able to play catch-up. But Bayern München sit in 5th place right now. I predict who are they playing next week? I predict a pretty big bounce back for next week. They're hosting Bayer Leverkusen on Friday.
Oh boy, yeah.
And I don't predict much from Bayer Leverkusen.
Well, it's not next
Having a rough
week, right? It's like in a couple because we're on the international break. So we have
the 30th of September. So the Friday after when they get back from the international break. That's true. In 2 weeks. But then the next two games after that are Bayer Leverkusen and then Borussia Dortmund. So going to Borussia Dortmund on Saturday, October 8th. That's going to be a real Klassiker. It's a real one.
That's a big one.
Borussia Dortmund sit in second place right now. They are having a pretty good season. It's also not figured out with Dortmund, to be honest. I think defensively they're still suspect. It's still Mats Hummels. Zula still hasn't plugged in properly yet. Anthony Modeste, who was a shock panic signing. It's looking like it, and I love Anthony Modeste. He's my boy, but at 34, this is his first major club he's ever played for, and there's pressure and eyes on him. I think he excelled back when there weren't all this pressure and eyes on him, and the pressure's mounting for him. So he's only got 1 or 2 goals so far in the season, and for him being the number 9, you expect a little more. So we'll see if Anthony Modeste can start getting some steam going. But overall, Borussia Dortmund's a club that has the pieces, but they're just not. The locomotive isn't in motion just yet.
They still. I mean, the Schalke game too. They definitely were dominant, but they still look a little messy. Like it doesn't look like it's all coming together. Last season, they had a very clear identity, which was kind of insane. I mean, we talked about it a bunch of times. It's like, oh, we don't give a shit about defense. We're just going to attack.
Right.
And they scored a lot of goals, and they were very efficient in the attacking third. Now, every once in a while, they gave up a lot of goals, and so it was kind of they were sort of frustrating in a different way. Now they look like they're not really that good at anything. Like the offense is sort of sputtering. The defense is still sort of spotty. Their tactics seem sort of weirdly conservative for a team that doesn't defend all that well. So it's still, very much still a work in progress. But so far, the results have been pretty good, and they're in second place with 15, behind the ever-dominant Union Berlin.
Union Berlin, the club, and people are finally talking about them. They're
Is the race already over? Bayern is 5 points behind. Can they?
No. I think the race is wide open. I think the race is wide open right now. Because Union Berlin.
I'm kidding, of course.
No, of course, but Union Berlin are doing great. I don't think they'll be number 1 by the end of the season. Now that
I agree with you.
If Union Berlin win this year, is that a story even greater than Leicester? Do you think?
Probably, right? It has to be. Probably. Yeah,
because they're a tiny
it's
club
up there
that just grew and grew and grew and got better. And
it's
better
up
and better.
there. Yeah, I mean that's not going to happen.
I don't think so
because even right now, I know you are not a believer in XG, or I don't know. Are you?
I mean, I don't know. I don't really care about XG. I guess not. Someone has to convince me more about that, I think.
Well, anyway, currently, I'm not going to try to convince you, but currently the expected basically what expected goals are for those listening that don't know. It's basically just an estimate as to how many times from a specific position, what percentage of shots goes in. So it's a measurement basically because, there's a lot of, in the short sample size of one game, there's a lot of luck involved. Something goes in, something doesn't. And the XG is sort of an expression of how it really went and who deserved to win, perhaps, or who had the better chances, the better shot. It's not a perfect measurement, but over the course of a season, as the sample size gets bigger, teams tend to approach back to their XG values. In other words, in the short term, you can over or underperform your XG dramatically, but in the long term, teams usually don't. And so it's kind of a bit of a, especially early in the season, it's a bit of a preview as to what might happen. And right now, Union Berlin has an XG of 5.9 goals, which means that, by likelihood, they were supposed to score 6 goals. and they have in fact scored 15 goals. So that suggests that this run will not continue for that much longer. They actually have a negative goal differential in XG. They have 5.94 and 6.3 against, which but their actual goal differential is 15-4. So they will come back to earth sooner or later, but it's fun to watch right now.
Unless the great American goal scorer just keeps defying expectations.
Unless he just keeps going. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Jordan Pefok, not good enough for the national team, but good enough for first place in the Bundesliga.
In the Bundesliga. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit, but that's the big talking point, I think, in U.S. soccer this week. We'll give our opinions on it as well. But I just want to say good job for Union Berlin. If I ever go to Germany again soon, which I will, I'm going to do my best to try to go up there and check out Union Berlin game. I am, good on you, Union Berlin. Keep it going. Keep it up. Keep all the other clubs honest and keep doing your thing. I love it. They're playing good attacking. They're playing good football, direct. Not only Jordan Pefok is just a typical example of a great scouting, great transition, but Geraldo Becker really manning it up and figuring it out. They have they have a very old school up top scoring duo. I mean, back in the day, that was a thing. The Jürgen Klinsmann, Oliver Bierhoff, the Romario, Ronaldo, the duo up top scoring together. Now that's not a thing anymore because football has changed. But Union Berlin keeping it strong with two big names up top. We got Geraldo Becker and Jordan Sabachu Pefok. And I think he just goes by Jordan now these days. His name is ever in flux.
Nobody can keep track. Nobody can keep track of what he's supposed to be called.
My theory is he's hiding from the IRS. It's just like, you want to tax me? Find me, mofos.
Find me.
Under
what name? My name is not my name. Yeah.
Good luck. Great technique. Very multi-level marketing of him. Multi-level marketing companies, scammy companies. I've been fooled to work for one or two in my day. They keep constantly rebranding and moving, specifically so it's hard to find their scam organization. Anyway, so good on Jordan Pefok, good on Union Berlin. A couple other talking points, but maybe we are excited because a certain someone got their first points this weekend.
Excited.
Congratulations!
I'm meant to be excited about that.
Bochum 1-1, right? A 1-1 game, got their first point.
It was a 1-1 game. Well, this was a tale of two. What am I trying to say? I guess
Cologne got
not two halves, but
right?
That's the thing. Bochum was up for most of it, had a lead, and then it wasn't until the 88th minute that the tie comes, which would suggest that Bochum was unlucky in this game. However, having watched this game, or I could again quote XG if you want it. I
was gonna say, what did the XG say? Tell me.
The XG. I'd have to look that up actually, but I can.
I'm guessing award ceremony.
I have not.
What clubs should have done? There's the should have awards. And this league's leading should have goal scorer based on XG.
I was going to say I would imagine that it was dramatically in favor of Köln, and it's true. The XG, Bochum had an XG of 0.2 and Köln was 1.8, suggesting that this should have been Köln should have won this 2-0. And and that's sort of what it felt like. They had the better chances. They were pretty dominant, I thought. And so it was kind of depressing, really, in every way. That gave up a lead late, and really it wasn't really a particularly good performance. I think last week, game against Schalke, they actually played better than they did this week. So yes, it was the first point, but not a lot of. I mean, I certainly did not feel a lot of hope or excitement. I mean, this really was a game that they needed to win to have any kind of to feel like they had to have any kind of chance. I mean, at this point, they are 5 points behind, right? The next team up is, what is it? It has at least 4 or 5 points. 5 points. Wolfsburg is in 17th. They have 5, and Bochum has 1. So, and again, if you look at underlying numbers, the team is not. Team is not good. The squad is not good enough. Probably there now is a new coach. I don't think it's official quite, but it's going to be Thomas Letsch, who is now the coach of Vitesse Arnhem in Holland.
Okay. Let me look him up now. Thomas
And
Letsch.
he is, I believe, the candidate. I don't know how official it is, if this is a rumor or it's, I mean, Kicker is saying this, so it's,
yeah, I mean, he's a
reliable
journeyman coach. He it's funny, he doesn't, I don't see much experience here as a player, but he's like he's always been a manager. He's one of those guys. Stuttgart Kickers for many years, smaller clubs, and he was at Red Bull for many years, for Red Bull Salzburg. He was a Red Bull Salzburg youth coach for a long time. Then he was the head coach of FC Liefering, which is the Red Bull Salzburg feeder club. So he's a high energy, high press Red Bull coach. He's part of the Red Bull. He's like a Gerhard. He's part of the Gerhard Struber Red Bull fraternity. Then he was at Erzgebirge Aue for, I guess, a couple months. Wien, Austria Wien for a couple seasons, and now in Holland and Vitesse. But he's currently under contract at Vitesse, so they'd have to pay a release fee or something. So
yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure where this. I don't think this has not been announced by the club. So
just a rumor. Just a rumor.
It's not.
Yeah, it sounds like one of those.
It sounds like it's somewhat official. I mean, it's somewhat has some legs. It's not just a rumor. Yeah.
Well, on paper, it's a good. If you have no money, the Red Bull system of coaching is ideal because they deal specifically in high press teamwork with cheap players. So there you go. If you need a coach, that's the coach you're going to get. So good on them. The other bit of hubbub newsy news is Max Ebel.
Oh, yeah.
Been in the news quite some time. The former Gladbach sport director. We've played a couple of interviews here in the podcast. He left unceremoniously very quickly from Gladbach by halfway last year during the crisis. And he was just signed, I believe today, as the new sporting director at RB Leipzig.
Yeah.
So Max Ebel's RB Leipzig reuniting with his former Gladbach coach, Marco Rose. So the Gladbach duo has relocated itself to Leipzig. Now, I don't know what this means for Oliver Mintzlaff. I guess Oliver Mintzlaff is still there. I guess he's above the sport director. I don't really get how it works. So they also have Mario Gomez over there. So they have a few guys, because I thought Oliver Mintzlaff was the sport director. But I guess he wasn't. So now Max Ebel is the sport director over there. And the other bit of little rumory news is Oliver Mintzlaff was just approached by Chelsea to become their sport director.
Oh, interesting.
But he said no, or they said no, or something. Chelsea held talks with Red Bull ahead of Global Soccer, Oliver Mintzlaff, but that decided to run its course. Either Chelsea said no or he said no, depending on what you read. So they tried to poach him, but Mintzlaff is no. He's still at Red Bull. So there's a little news there. The sport director carousel continues. Max Ebel and now at Leipzig. We'll see what he can get going on over there. Again, with a club like RB Leipzig, they're all about scouting and finding no names and creating players. So that machine continues, and I guess they have someone there to help out with the day-to-day because Oliver Mintzlaff, I think, has gotten a lot of heat. Oliver Mintzlaff also doesn't have a lot. He's not a football guy. His background is in bicycle. I think he's a bicyclist or something. I don't know what he is. He's from the Red Bull sporting organization, but you know how Red Bull's a lot of racing and all that kind of stuff. So it's like one of those guys. Yeah. He was. So I guess they got themselves a soccer guy.
I guess it's all the same to them. It's all the same to them.
Oliver Mintzlaff participated twice in the half marathon world championships in the 90s, he was a
The half
marathon.
marathon world championships. I didn't even know that was a thing.
That's
All
what it
right.
said. The World Half Marathon Championships
Amazing.
in Worcester. Yeah, then he was a marketing guy for a long time, and now he's involved with football. So good for him. Okay, I think that things in Germany are very exciting.
Gladbach. I mean, the one other thing to mention is that Gladbach beat Leipzig 3-0. The Schnitzel boys curse in effect again. Where I thought really RB Leipzig is going to go on a run.
No.
Not yet.
You can't beat him, join him. You can't beat him, join him. The Gladbach crew hopped to Leipzig and in their old club just beat them what for is how that works. But no, RB Leipzig still got to get their act in order. That's just such a. The reason this is kind of reminding me of that Leicester season in England is because the main reason that Leicester won is because all of the major clubs shot themselves in the foot that year. They were all underperforming. And so Leicester grabbed the title. And then in Germany, you look at Bayern München, RB Leipzig, Bayer Leverkusen, and Borussia Dortmund. All four of those clubs are underperforming right now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Borussia Dortmund's the best of the bunch, but they ain't perfect. So you got clubs like Union Berlin and Freiburg and Gladbach stealing the party away, being like, we'll take it. Freiburg, consider Union Berlin, two of the most loved clubs in Germany, just crushing it right now because the other clubs are shooting themselves in the foot. And they're like, well, we're not, so we'll keep going. So we'll see how that continues to develop after we go in the international break. Plus, we have a World Cup break this year. It's a year unlike any other.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of weirdness.
And speaking of World Cup break, we had ourselves a U.S. roster review. We're ready to hop on the other side of the pond from Bundesliga to MLS via Jordan Pifak, the perfect merger of the two worlds. So Jordan Pifak, who is one of the leading scorers of Union Berlin on top of the Bundesliga table, doing well, and 3 months ago, the U.S. didn't have any number 9s. We just didn't have any forwards. For the last 2 years, we didn't have any forwards. Jordan Pifak won the scoring title in Switzerland, and he went to Germany and transitioned seamlessly. Now he's scoring goals over there.
Yeah.
Great goals in the air. He's just up top knipsing. He's a knipser. He's up top. He's knipsing. He's doing it up. And here we are, the U.S. men's national team, and Greg Berhalter is doing the old, no thank you. I'm not interested in Jordan Pifak. So we did not bring Jordan Pifak into camp. And it's very alarming because it's the last camp. And seemingly he's going with 3 forwards. It's a good amount of forwards to go with because if you only have 1 forward in your system, you need at least 2 and then a third for cover. And there you go. Three forwards is a good amount of players. Maybe a 4th. And I feel if we bring a 4th, it would be Pifak. But if it's 3, right now it's looking like Jesus Ferreira, Josh Sargent, and Ricardo Pepi. Ricardo Pepi, who hasn't scored a goal in a year.
Well, he has now.
Was not a hit at Augsburg.
He has now.
So
he
went to a lesser league in Eredivisie at a club like Groningen. And he got an assist in his first game and a goal in the second game. But it's only 1 goal, but he is scoring. They're putting him in a place where he can succeed. And we'll see how he does with the U.S. Over the next 2 games. But I think if he scores at least a goal or does okay, I think he's on the plane to Qatar, and I think Pifak's at home, man. Simply because Greg is just obsessed with his system because it was so fruitful when it came to goal scoring.
Obsessed with his system.
Because it was so fruitful when it came to goal scoring, and we're just goals a million, goals scored by forwards and everything. I'm being facetious, of course. All our goals were scored by defenders and wingers, but he's just not ready to give up on Pepi. Herc Gomez on his podcast was saying that he's very loyal to Ricardo Pepi because Ricardo Pepi saved his ass in qualifying back when he was scoring.
That's true. He did. I mean, the Honduras game, right, comes to mind.
You know who else scored an important game against Honduras during the Nations League semifinals? Jordan Pifak.
Well, okay, that was a Yeah, it's slightly different. That was not a World Cup.
But what I'm
qualifier.
saying is Jordan Pefok has had some sleepy moments for the U.S. men's national team. I agree with that. However, he hasn't been given a lot of time. First off, he's been given a limited amount of time. And it hasn't all been failures. He's done okay. The first half, he's done okay. I just don't think Jordan Pefok ever got a fair shake.
He scored a little bit. No, he's gotten a lot of time. He doesn't press, and he's not very fast.
He's a number 9 goal scorer up top. I don't know what to tell you. We need a guy.
Well,
like
here's my response to what you're saying. I'm of two minds here. I appreciate that Greg Berhalter. Greg Berhalter, we've talked about this before, is transforming this from a defend hard and hope for the best up front to a very productive, possession-based pressing team. And so he has certain requirements of his players. And if you don't fit those requirements, you're not going to make the team. There's, True. James Sands is a victim of this. John Brooks is a victim of this. If you have what?
James Sands is a victim?
Well, I mean, he's a little different in that he was always on the bubble, but I think he
James Sands also has this terrible disease where he lets 4 goals go past him during games sometimes. That's also bad.
Well, it's just not him personally. He's part of a group of people. Anyway, he's now a starter on a chip. James Sands says the point I'm making is that I thought that he would be on this roster, frankly, because he's, he can be a center back, he can play in the midfield, he's just a utility guy. But the knock on him, he's not one to chase people down on the open field. And that's kind of what the system requires. If you're a pressing team, you need people who can recover one-on-one. And I think that's what Berhalter has decided. You need speed in his center back and one-on-one recovery speed. And John Brooks doesn't have that. James Sands doesn't have that. And that's Tim what Ream. He's decided. Tim Ream. Yeah.
To me, that's also an equally big snub.
Yeah. But it's the same kind of thing. Tim Ream has not played a lot of center back for the U.S. He's played fullback mostly,
Left
right?
Back, yeah. Well,
and,
you're right.
But yeah, I think that's really the thought behind it. Now, the flip side of that is, I think there's still a thing on the U.S. men's national team. If you're a productive starter in a top 5 league, you got to find a way, right? Like, to make room, you got to find a way. I mean, I think he has elevated his status as a consistent goal scorer for right now the number 1 team in Germany.
Right.
I think, there is a case that you could make that, like, he needs to, even if you just kind of bring him in for 5 minutes at the end of the game.
He's the only U.S. player scoring at a high level. Like it's not even debatable. Ricardo and Pepe and Josh Sargent couldn't score in the top flight, so they went to smaller clubs and less competitive places to score again, and it started again. It's not like they got better all of a sudden. Ricardo Pepe started scoring when the league got slower. Josh Sargent started scoring when he went down a level, the championship. Jordan Pefok is like, give me that speed. I don't care. I score goals under pressure at a high level.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, these guys do other stuff that are not, it's the same. Exactly. It's the same with the Jesse Zardes argument. Right. It's like, do a lot of work, win a lot of balls, cover a lot of ground. Those are important. Those are important attributes. So,
and look at Jesse Zardes now.
I see what he's doing, and I think it's. Yeah, I mean, it always
just on your thing. There are 2 things.
All right,
a big thing I'll talk about second, and the other small thing is Tim Ream is also a big snub, and the reason is because he's a little older, he's a little slower, but Tim Ream is in the form of his life right now. He is captaining a top flight English Premier League team, and they're doing well against big opposition. Mm-hmm. And it's like, again, just like Jordan Pefok, That deserves a little recognition. And if you're the U.S. men's national team, a team who made the quarterfinals once 20 years ago during a weird fluky summer tournament that was kind of odd overall, if that's your claim to fame, then like we're in a position where I just don't think we're a club. As a national team, we're not allowed to be overlooking players like that. We got to bring them up. Not only that, Tim Ream was also experienced. This is a young team, bringing a little experience. So I get why you don't call him up. Like it was a little slow, blah, blah, blah. However, not one, but two of our center backs got injured yesterday. One including Chris Richards, by the way, who isn't playing. So I'd love to know where his injury came from. I mean, is he playing pickup basketball? He broke his leg or something? I don't know.
Slipped in the shower.
Slipped in the shower. A guy who isn't playing much right now. He should have stayed at Hoffenheim for another year, if you ask me. And so he needed two replacement center backs. He didn't call in Tim Ream. He didn't call in James Sands. He called in EPB, and he called in Mark McKenzie. Now, Mark McKenzie, I understand, because apparently he's the highest rated center back in the Belgian league right now.
Yeah, he's been
a little
very
resurgence.
Good this season. Yeah.
He's been in good form. So more power to him, that I get. Eric Palmer-Brown, though, is a little bit, because when he's played for the U.S., it's been a little stanky. He hasn't really offered much. And although he is playing in the top flight in Europe, he's playing in France, but they're 10th place. They've had 0 clean sheets so far this season. He came by way of Austria, and I don't consider the Austrian league to be. I consider the Austrian league to be a half a step below MLS. So, like, I don't know. Like is Eric Palmer-Brown? I guess he's going to give him a look. But why is Eric Palmer-Brown being given another look as opposed to a James Sands, as opposed to a Tim Ream? I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I think the argument there is that he knows those guys. He knows Tim Ream. He knows James Sands. And I mean, I think for
Brown paid the same minutes too. I don't know.
I think for the two of them, I mean, I think it is the speed thing. I think it is. I think that is probably it. And I think this does mean that Sands is not going to the World Cup. I think pretty much guaranteed. And
right, I agree.
And I suppose the same for Tim Ream, depending on. But I mean, we're arguing in that case. I feel like we're arguing about the last couple spots on the roster, people who wouldn't get a lot of time anyway. But when it comes to the number 9, that spot is really very much still up for grabs. Like anybody, there's nobody really who's clearly ahead. I mean, Jesus Ferreira has had a great season, continues to play well, but in MLS, which a lot of people kind of, a lot of the Euro snobby fans kind of dismiss outright. And so, I would say, well, no, please go ahead.
Well, I was saying the other thing I was mentioning, the big thing is what you were saying was right, and I was thinking too. The big issue is this. We can talk specific players all we want. That's another thing. As a national team, do we have the pedigree to say no to players like that? In my opinion, no, we do not. However, the big thing is this. Greg Berhalter is very clear with how he's doing things. When he became the head coach of the national team, the first thing he said in his first press conference was, me and my staff, we know how we want to play. We're creating a list of player profiles per position, and it's about profile. So he came out, and even Bruce Arena said Greg Berhalter's coaching the national team like a club team, which is a great praise, but I think it's being clear. Greg Berhalter, and I think U.S. Soccer, in turn hiring him, made a choice to make a system. Like, Greg, implement a system, teach our boys how to, whoever they may be. So right now the choice is profile. He needs a certain type of number 9. And he needs a certain type of center back who plays a higher line, which is why John Brooks stopped getting called in. And the certain type of number 9, which is why Jordan Pifak isn't being involved right now. And so that's clear. And I like the fact that we're doing that because we've never really done that before. So might as well give it a shot, right? Let's see what that looks like.
Yeah, under Klinsmann, it was like
Yeah, the opposite.
call
There's
in,
no system whatsoever.
find the best
Yeah.
players, and then just play them out of
And then
position. Like put
play
them into
Alejandro
weird,
Bedoya as a 6 or something.
put
Right,
him
exactly.
in weird spots if you
Right.
have to. Right. Yeah.
But that's a reactionary choice to that. And you have to think to yourself, and Greg Berhalter has done a really good job adapting and learning and dropping some of his boys he's been loyal to. You don't see Josh Artist anymore. You don't see Will Trapp anymore. You don't see a what's his face who I liked from San Jose, Jackson Ewell anymore. You don't see those guys much anymore, you know. But like, so that's what's happening. We just have to get used to it. The jury is still out whether that's a good idea. We'll see how we do in Qatar. But
well, I mean, he's
happening.
done right. Yeah, I mean, obviously the World Cup trumps all. The results in the World Cup, fair or not, you know, it's like 3, 4, 5 if you're lucky games that are just disproportionately are going to be important in judging his tenure. I feel like
riddle me this.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
You were right. He's changing the U.S. national team to a progressive holding team. Sure. Klinsmann said he was doing that. We're trying that for years. With COVID and with the world of football these days, what has been the majority of our opposition as a national team? Who have we been playing over and over again?
The CONCACAF teams.
CONCACAF. We're dominant in CONCACAF, always have been. Not always have been, but since the 90s, we've been one of the big boys in CONCACAF. We're the big boys in CONCACAF. So we're supposed to be dominant against them anyway. Who are we going to be playing come World Cup time?
Wales, England, Iran.
World teams from other parts of the world. So the reality is this whole system thing has only been tried and tested, definitely competitively, against our minnow neighbors. So, you know, it's not like we're playing Holland and Germany over and over again with the system. We're going to have games. What I'm saying is we're against England, against maybe if we get the knockouts, we're not going to have the ball. We're going to sit there and we're going to have to utilize the few opportunities we have. And when it comes to that moment, what kind of system do we have then? Who do we need on the field?
We're going to find out. We're going to find out how that goes. But I think that you share that with
everybody.
I think that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Nobody, you don't. I mean, I think that's the beauty of the World Cup because you don't really know. You know, teams come together. You have these ideas: who's going to be good, who's not. But you just don't know because there isn't really a lot. You know, even these Nations League games, they're kind of glorified friendlies. Germany played North Macedonia, I guess, was their biggest competition in the qualifying stage. It's like this is the same in one way or another. You know, obviously, yeah, I see what you're saying. Of course, Germany they played the Euro last year. They've played England in the so they have more opportunities to play these teams than the US have. But I think in the scheme of things, this is just how the World Cup is. Right. You assemble this team, you prepare the best you can, and then you just then we'll see what happens. I think that would be one thing I would say. And the other, I would also, you're saying he has a system, he has his favorites, he has people that he's loyal to, but he also, I feel like, has done a great job of expanding the roster by using the Nations Cup and having it playing that second team and really expanding. It's not like he only has. I mean, like you're saying, it's not like you were saying. It's not like it's not like he's running out Will Trapp and Zardes and Zach Steffen and these guys that he knows, all his friends from his Columbus days. He has done a good job of bringing people in, expanding and really addressing the issues. Like the midfield was very thin, and then he brought in Musa, brought along De La Torre, and really addressing these issues. So I think
maybe Malik Tillman.
Malik Tillman, now is one of those. Yeah, exactly. And he has adapted and he has expanded his roster. It's not. I don't think it's fair to say like, oh, he came in with the system and he's just been stubborn or, and sticking to it. I think he's done a great job of really having a lot of people to choose from, actually. And also the results have been, what the run that this team has had against Mexico, the main competitor in this region, has been, I don't think, unprecedented, right? In the historically. So it's not just like he's had some pretty games against terrible teams. Like he's got some pretty consistently good results. So that's what I would say in defense.
We haven't been playing great looking soccer. We played better in the past, in my opinion. But have we had better results in the past? No, not really. The results are, and at the end of the day, what matters, how you play, or the results. I mean, it's up to you. And also, at the end of the day, even if this turns out to ultimately be kind of a mistake, we've never done this before, so let's do it. Let's do it once. Let's try it. I would like to, moving forward, going to 2026, you think a national team molds his best 11 to the players he has. Maybe we'll see a little more of that again. But right now, I like the fact that he's really trying something, and he's trying, he's trying something different. Klinsmann wasn't really a coach; he was sort of just a dude. He was a project manager. He was a dude with a smile. Like you said. And then Bruce Arena, same thing, very old school. Bruce Arena is not an XG guy at all. Bruce Arena is very much just a really good old school manager, which for a national team is a good trait to have. But he wasn't an analyst like this. He wasn't a great X's and O's superstar either. So we're doing it with Greg Berhalter. He's like, I'm going to take my computers and my analysis and my Pep Guardiola-like strategy is king, and I'm going to apply it to a national team program with these youngsters the next 4 years. And that's what he did.
Okay. So, all right.
Did it yield a great results? It was okay. Do we play pretty soccer? A lot of time, no, not really. We just got our results. Like we beat Mexico twice, but Mexico had the ball in both those games, and in many ways that shot themselves in the foot. We were just more clinical with a few chances we had.
But that's always been the case also, where people are like, oh, this team hasn't played, it's not looking good. I don't know. I also think he's got the people going hard for him. I think that's also
healthy locker room.
That's also underrated. I think it's not just like diagrams and X's and O's and very heady strategy. I think this team also has gone hard and really dealt with adversity. Come from behind. I think there's.
He does a good job communicating with them. I think he does a good job communicating with them. He shows up. I think there's. People don't know if he was at the Berlin game or not. He was at the Revia Derby, that's for sure. Was he at the Berlin game? Who knows? But he's at games. He's there. He was at that Rangers Celtic game. He's around. He's there. He's talking to him. He really turned our the new generation of players into a community. And you have to give him credit for that. I thought he did a really good job with that. When in the past, we have not had that. The only thing I was going to mention with the Jordan Pefok snub is, Bjorn, where is this national team camp happening? Where is the last U.S.
camp? They're in Germany.
Where is it happening? It's in Köln. So it's like of all the so he's in there, Berlin, snubbed. He's like, I get the U.S. is far away, but it's a freaking 2-hour train ride from me.
Could be there. He could be there in 3. He could be there in a couple hours.
There's no rules that he couldn't have been called in, because he's allowed to bring as many players as he wants. It could have been a 27-man round. There's no rules that Pefok couldn't have just come and hung out and trained at least for a couple hours. To me, that's also very telling. To me, I think it's a big thing.
I mean, I think he has. I mean, that's been clear in the qualifiers. He hasn't been called up, and I think he's gotten a good look at him, and he's decided he doesn't fit. Now, like I said, his status, this was when this decision was made, when he was in the Swiss league. Now he's in the Bundesliga, and he's still performing well. And that is really, I think I agree with you that the status is such that, like I said, if you have a productive starter in one of the top 5 leagues,
Are you allowed to say
it's
no?
definitely. Are you allowed to say no? And I guess that is. I mean, on the flip side, you could say that is a sign of progress, right? That we have those players now that are not on the national team.
It's either a sign of progress or a sign of hard-headedness, man. I don't know. John Brooks. People bring up John Brooks is crazy because John Brooks, he's on a club. He hasn't played since May. He hasn't played any minutes since May. That dude is cold. John Brooks shot himself in the foot. If John Brooks wanted to seriously be in contention, he would have signed the club right away. He would have played the high line. He would have done a little better than he's doing. I mean, I'm glad he's at Benfica. I wish him the best, but that dude's just not getting any minutes. So there's just no why would even just on form you wouldn't bring him in. So I get that. But yeah, I think that that does it for U.S. roster talk. We're running a little bit. Let's talk a little.
Oh my God, we're going long here. Yeah,
let's touch it very brief. Let's do it very, very brief. Let's talk. I want to talk about a serious incident in Florida. To me, that's the main thing. Typical MLS rant. On the field, we can talk about. Let's just do on the field stuff first, real quick. Let's talk about the elephant in the room between you and me. NYCFC and the New York Rebels played. Gerhard Struber guaranteed a victory. He said it's crystal clear that we will win. Crystal clear that wir gewinnen. We will win. It's a guarantee. I don't know why a head coach would say something like that. I mean, talk about here in America, we have something called superstition, which is big in sports. And there's certain things you're not allowed to say. If you're having a perfect game, you're not allowed to say it out loud. Something. So you're not allowed to say, I guarantee you we will win this next game. You're not allowed to say that anywhere. I don't know why he said that.
Yeah, he's just an odd guy, Gerhard Struber. I mean,
yeah, he is. He really is. But I love him. I love him. I love how Austrian he is. I love all the vodka shit he says.
He's just a wild card. Yeah, he said, and then there was.
We went to Yankee Stadium and NYCFC. It was very weird. It was 10 a.m. my time. Like I said, it was more.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was. That's what I was gonna. That's. I meant to mention that earlier. That this was in a very unusually Germany-friendly kickoff. Yeah, 7 p.m. Right. 7 p.m. Germany time. Yeah, it was very.
Did you watch it alone, or did your family watch it with you?
No, I watched it. You know, it was sort of dinner time. We were hanging out, and I kind of had it on my phone.
Oh, just in front of your schnitzel, in front of.
I was just a little. I tried to be a little discreet about it. I took a little. Yeah.
What did you have for dinner? That's the important question. What did you have?
Oh, it was grilled.
Germany, okay, hold on. You're about to prove me wrong. In Germany, dinner is historically cold. In America, dinner is historically warm. That's the difference between America and the United States. In America, at night, the family eats for dinner. It's warm, blah, blah, blah. In Germany, dinner is Schnitten, which is like cold cut, essentially. Cold, a little bit of a cold spread. You make yourself put a little meat on some Schwarzbrot, and there you go. That's dinner.
Yeah, that's often what this.
It's a traditional German dinner, but it sounds like you had yourself a little something extra.
Well, I mean, this is what they do in my family too, but not for special events. So in this case, there was some grilled meats and some cake and fish, and my dad busted out his grill and made various meats, and
nice.
It was tasty.
It's also not common. It's part of Germany again. A friend of mine just was in Berlin over the weekend organizing a big event in an art gallery, and she coordinated some sort of opening night gala event or whatever. And she said she brought in these chefs and then grilled up a whole bunch of steak. I think that's very cool. But grilled steak is not a very German thing. Like if you go to a German restaurant, you don't order the flesh. Or if you do, don't expect to be wowed. So just a little thing. As far as grilled red meat steak, that's not a very traditional German thing. So it's cool.
There were some steaks
cool that you're doing
actually
it
in there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The world's getting smaller is all I'm saying. The world's becoming a smaller place. The worsts are getting better in the States, and the red meat's getting better in Germany.
It's true. We're all coming together.
We're all coming together. But yeah, what kind of so the steak was good?
Steak was good, the food was good, and the game was good too. I thought we also have to briefly mention, I know nobody cares outside of New York about this, but we did win the Campeones Cup.
That's right. You said it best. If you win the Campeones Cup, it's the most important time in North America. If you lose it, it's some meaningless cash grab.
Right,
really
exactly.
So it's a win-win either way.
It was, and really, it was It was a decisive win. We crushed them pretty early. It was really a great. I mean, I want to say it was a great time. This was before I went to Germany, so I was at Yankee Stadium, and it was just a fun night. The stadium was full. There were a lot of Mexican fans of all sorts.
Well, there
supporting
was some
Atlas.
meaning to this game because you know why? Because this was another call. Like people were calling out the head of the Mexican League was there, and I think afterwards the fans were calling him out because it's just like during COVID, during this past 2 or 3 years between the United States and Mexico, the United States was won like 95% of their matchups when it comes to Campeones Cup, Champions League, national team, the All-Star game. If you want to throw that in there, like in the very beginning, the Champions League had that game that LAFC lost in the final. So that's the last time a Mexican team has had one over on an American club. Since then, it's been all USA. And on Wednesday night in New York, it was no different. It was Atlas, right? And NYCFC had a confident 2-0 win, right? Atlas had little to give.
Yeah, and it really was never in doubt. They had a very sort of kick and rush approach to the game, which Nick Cushing sort of semi-facetiously, I guess, said afterwards was perfect preparation for the Red Bull game.
Bulls, right.
And it was pretty decisive. And this was not a team that was in a good way. We talked about it. So definitely a great win. And then, another trophy. And Don Garber was there at the head of Liga MX. And just a fun night in a full stadium with good vibes and a pretty decisive victory. Alex Collins off of a corner early, which was weirdly reminiscent of then what happened in the Derby was reminiscent of that because it's the same thing. Collins header from a corner, or not a header, but like he scored from a corner or very early on in the first minute in the Derby, and then. I thought this was a little closer. I think the Red Bulls definitely had some chances here and there, and but we were defending pretty well. Interesting. If we want to, I'm not going to dwell on this too long because we're running out of time. But I just wanted when you were talking about Greg and his profile, Cushing sort of did the opposite. He's been playing with 3 center backs, and this is really just an effort also to put the best players on the field. We're very, very thin at midfield. Ronnie Dyla did this last season for a time when he was playing Jimmy Sands at right back because there just wasn't anyone else. And so now he's playing the 3 center backs, and that kind of weirdly gives Alex Collins, who is a center back, but he thinks of himself as a striker. He wants to.
Well, where is he from originally? He's from Costa
Peru.
Rica. He's from Peru. I was going to say, South American center backs tend to be goal scorers. They're different. Breed.
He just wants he wants to get up there, and so he has a lot of freedom. And I mean, obviously, he's always gone forward for set pieces and corners, but now he really has his pushing even into the midfield, and he's a pretty great passer. And so that's just a fun thing to see. And that's where Cushing kind of finally figured it out by playing without an attacking midfielder is kind of odd, but somehow it works because Collins is so aggressive. The other thing I want to mention is he started for these 2 games. He started Kevin O'Toole, who was an out of nowhere kind of signing before the season. And he got a lot of time for NYCFC 2, and now got these 2 starts and really played very well at left back, where Malte Amundsen and Chris Glosser really all season have been pretty underwhelming in that position. And so finally he gave a chance to O'Toole, who really was not going to be seeing much time. He was really a signing for the second team, and he got a chance and did very well in that position. Not perfect, but very good effort on both games. Got the start again in the Derby and played very well. So those are the 2 things that I want to give Nick Cushing credit for after he's been a little bit maligned and was under pressure.
Right.
His nerves were a little raw. And I just saw he's coach of the week in MLS. The team of the week has Alex Collins as a starter, Santi Rodriguez on the bench, and Nick Cushing is the coach of the week.
Well, Alex Collins was injured. He just come back from injury, right?
Yeah, and
that's
also
you can tell it's a big.
That's a big deal. His contract's running out, so there's some suspense there as to whether or not he's going to stay. But he's always been a favorite of mine, and it's nice to see him.
We had a battle of the Baldies over the weekend. Real Glatzkopfs. Two big, shiny, white 8 balls on the side of the field between Gerhard Struber and Nick Cushing. Nick Cushing was the shiniest moon of them both. So good on him. Well done. Gerhard Struber, the only thing I want to big, the most entertaining part of the game was Gerhard Struber figuring out how to drink water.
That was incredible. It's like he had a... It's on Twitter. He it's like he had a...
From what I understand, the bottle needs air in it for the water to keep coming out or something. But there's a way cooler way of doing that than like this weird... What's that famous thing that like birdie that goes up and down to drink the water?
Yeah. The woodpecker or whatever. Right, yeah.
That's what he did.
It's like he had a seizure. I watched this during the broadcast and was like, what is happening with Gerhard Struber?
That's Struber.
A wild, just a wild man, and also quite defiant.
Yeah.
Also sort of defiant in his press conference after calling this a cheap win.
Right.
And hard to accept a cheap win like that. I was like, all right, Gerhard, you gotta quit while the quitting.
The New York Red Bulls are still 1 point above from the East.
That's true, yeah.
Despite the sweep. You didn't sweep us, so it's not but the sweep. I guess the US Open Cup doesn't count.
Does not count. No, it's the MLS sweep.
That was the only competitive game amongst us this season so far, but
that has never happened before. We have never
congratulations.
Never swept the series. Yeah.
We're still 3rd and 4th, respectively, going to playoffs. As far as some other game, LAFC got their win to keep up with the freight train of the Philly Union. The two hot teams in the league right now are undoubtedly Philly and LAFC. Those are the two big boys.
Yeah, but Philly dropped some points in Atlanta, and that gave LAFC the open. Well, it was a fun game.
I saw the Philly Atlanta game, but again, Philly in Atlanta in their home still not too bothered by Atlanta. LA Galaxy had quite the game all of a sudden. They just destroyed their opponents 4-1. Douglas Costa with a really stupid red card. But a lot of great goals. Ricky Puig assisting all of them, I think. He's like, I didn't know much about Ricky Puig or didn't care about him when he came in the league. That dude's a baller, man. That dude can play.
Yeah, he looks good.
He's a Barcelona midfielder. It's like he's a real It's like Barcelona couldn't use him. Or if not Barcelona, Valencia couldn't have used. Like Bochum couldn't use Ricky Puig. They want Ricky Puig. So
you keep bringing up Bochum in these contexts like they are gonna they have any kind
what
of
I'm saying. What I'm saying is it's interesting the type of talent that makes its way to MLS these days versus all the great opportunities that exist in Europe. And Ricky Puig is a young, informed midfielder. LA Galaxy got their hands on. Good on him, and he's doing well. Galaxy in just a playoff spot right now. I think they're right on the edge there. Time will tell. But, a lot of teams have been eliminated this past weekend. No big surprises. The big surprise is Seattle losing to Vancouver 2-0.
I was going to say that they definitely look like they are not making the playoffs now, which that would be the first time in their history.
After winning the Champions League. It's so interesting.
That is
the kind of Jekyll and Hyde. And then Miami is in great shape. They had a good 3-2 win over DC United. Of course,
they got the late winner.
The late winner, assisted by DeAndre Lillard, scored by Gonzalo Higuain, who is just scoring. Gonzalo Higuain is quietly back in sort of form again, without anyone noticing. He tends to get
He's had a very good season for them. And Phil Neville, after he benched him, that seems like really been good for him.
It worked.
Cincinnati won in Salt Lake. They are looking very good to make the playoffs.
I'm loving what Cincinnati's doing. Matt Miazga,
Miami got the late winner.
Matt Miazga on the lips of Greg Berhalter recently is somewhere on the depth chart there, so good on him.
Yeah. And speaking of the old school coaches, Bob Bradley now officially eliminated,
right.
And Bruce Arena not looking good either. I think with 2 games to go and 38 points, that's not going to do it.
Well,
so
but
New England are also going to miss the playoffs. They've had a lot of injuries.
Well, with Toronto, I think it's clear that they're getting ready for next year. I think that's their thing. New England had got rid of a couple of their key players this year without really replacing them properly, especially Matt Turner, but also with Adam Buksa, right?
Buksa,
left.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, they're
is Carlos Gil still there?
Carlos Gil is there. They have a they got a replacement. What's his name? Who really looks lost. He also missed a lot of time to injury, and he's just kind of getting consistent minutes, and so they just haven't played that well, and they are going to miss the playoffs.
Yeah, the last thing I just want to talk about is, the playoffs are heating up. Things are good. Our New York teams are in a decent position. Last season, they were both on the outside looking in and had to have that last-minute push to get in there. This year, it looked like they're comfortably going to make their way in. And
I'm hoping. It looks like we're going to get that home games after all. Hopefully, we still have a couple of points. We still need a few points for that. But for a while, I was like, we were in free fall, and I thought we weren't going to get a home game.
Skid, gotta get rid of that skid. Now it's time to play well. The only thing I want to say is the big fanfare with DC and Miami was there was an incident between two players. Allegedly, someone did a terrible racial slur to another player, and it's just sad because you think we're past that in this day and age. But it's not just in MLS. We've had a lot of instances over the weekend in Europe with Vinny Jr. stuff, and then also something happened at the San Diego NWSL game, which was a great attendance. For women's soccer, 32,000 people at New Snapdragon Stadium. MLS, eat your heart out, but I think a Mexican-American fan in the stands was racially abused. But on the field, the story goes that DC United forward Taxi Fountas from Greece got mad at Jamaican center back Damian Lowe and threw a terrible word at his face, one that we should not. One that should hopefully be making its way out of society, but still used as a weapon. And it was just a whole hubbub. The players were talking, something was going on. I went back to watch this whole sequence because it's one of those things that doesn't really happen much. And then they were talking, and then the referee listened to what's going on. He stopped the game. The referee pulled the two team captains in, talking about what's going on. Then the referee went to the sideline and talked to the two head coaches about what was going on. And then Andre Yedlin, when the senior players was there, he was also he was fighting for his teammates, and pretty much he just said, something's got to give. If this guy doesn't leave the field, we're all leaving. We're going to march off this field right now if this player doesn't leave. So Wayne Rooney agreed. He's like, all right. So Wayne Rooney and Phil Neville, which is why this situation was so interesting, because the two coaches on the sidelines happened to be longtime former Man United teammates, and Phil Neville and Wayne Rooney. And I believe also spent time at Everton together, maybe. I could be wrong. I don't know the thing. But they know each other. They're two old English buds. Phil Neville and Wayne Rooney on the side, buds, talking to each other. So amongst themselves, Phil Neville asked him, hey, you got to take that player off. And Wayne Rooney says, yeah, I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. They hugged or whatever. Wayne Rooney says, yeah, I'll take him off. So then right after that moment, Wayne Rooney took him off the field. He subbed him for another play. And another little funny hubbub after that was both teams had a substitution. Both had to sub on number 22. So the first bit of footage you see was a number 22 running off. They said, no, you wait. So it was just a whole bunch. It was just like the cherry on top of what was like an 8-minute sequence of what's going on here type situation. Now, I heard about this on Twitter. So I went on YouTube and I looked up the MLS highlights from the DC United Inter Miami. And surprise, surprise, absolutely none of this was in the highlights. It was censored out. So I went on ESPN Plus to get the replay. I pay. We get replays of all the games. Guess what game wasn't available for replay 5 hours after the game? This game. Now, the Spanish broadcast was available because they forgot to censor that one. So I was able to watch the Spanish broadcast of it, which is how I got this whole play-by-play. But I find it to be a very, very interesting thing of events. And again, it goes back to my old thing of like MLS just censors out everything that they consider not like negative. They're censoring out interesting talking points, like the Nick Cushing press conference from last week. They censored that. They're like, no one needs to see that. And I'm like, let us all see that.
Well, that's the team. That's the team in that.
It doesn't matter
right?
who it is. It doesn't matter who it is.
Okay.
Let the fans see it. So today, in a game, we had this unique hubbub where a referee. By the way, I just want to give props to the referee. The referee did it right. He stopped the game, talked to players, talked to the coach, made the coaches resolve something. They agreed to resolve it, and there you go. And now it can be investigated properly later. They went on with the game. That was done right. The players were about to march off the field, and the referee says this needs to be fixed. Fix it, and they fixed it. And then there you go. Why are we allowed to see it? Put that like. Don't you think that's worth mentioning in the highlights package of that game? Don't you think that is maybe a highlight of the game? The fact that there's this weird where two players got yellow carded and there was a hubbub, and one player did get off for alleged racism. You know, like you could do your investigation later, but put it in the highlight. Let us watch it. Let all the fans watch it. Let's talk about it. Let's have opinions. Put it on display. And so I just don't understand why when things happen, there's just this constant sort of Stasi-like presence to get rid of it and to censor it and be like, not for you. This is none of your business. MLS is telling the fans, this is none of your business. It's like, actually, I think it is literally our business. Your income
basically
comes from us. Let us watch what's going on.
Why do you think they do that?
Because it's state-run media, and they're like, let's just offer the goals because racism was used, and now the eyes are on the league to see what kind of punishment they have. The punishments of the past have been soft, and DeAndre Yedlin has come on Twitter and said, "All right, MLS, eyes are on you. What you got?" This guy clearly said the N-word on the field at one of our players. We have this Black Lives Matter movement. You have, all that. Let's put your money where your mouth is. What is this going to mean? So I'm very curious. The only thing I've heard since is that there's actually no media, like this is all hearsay. Unfortunately, we have no audio from the field or video from the field.
And Taxi
that confirms what happened.
Taxi said today he's denied using that word.
I think his agent, he doesn't speak English, so it was a very corporate. Like, I would never say that. I stand up. It was a very corporate-y, intern-y thing to write. So, who knows? But it needs to be dealt with, and the league tries to, they try to get ahead of it. They did this thing where it just really rubs me the wrong way. Let all the flaws and imperfections of humanity come out. Let us talk about it. Let us see the bad calls. Let us see the crazy behavior between this Greek journeyman you hired. You decided to sign this Greek journeyman instead of a young American player. Let us, and he decided to do something bad. He has teammates of color. I want to hear it. I want to see it. I want to see what happens here. And I want to see how the league responds. So I just don't like that their first instinct is to try to get rid of it and try to quash the story ASAP. That's not a good look on MLS, to be honest. I don't know what their motivation is or what, but and then I go on the MLS soccer website, nothing, not a blip, nothing. The article's about how good of a player Brendan Aronson's been for Leeds. I'm like, what? How is that news? Leeds hasn't played in 2 weeks. We're about to go to a national team break.
We still think he's good.
The league happened. Why is that your top article on the website this week? It's just really sloppy state-run media journalism. And I believe that there is a lot of good, small, independent media covering the league, and they do their best. But the league, I think, does a really good job getting in their way. And there's really few other. If you want to be considered not Bush League, let it all come out. Let it all come out. Let us all watch it. Let us watch the show. So that's just it's a continuance of my last rant. I just want to say it happens again. But the big issue is, of course, this type of behavior cannot be tolerated. You know,
Right,
it was a great case of when someone called someone the F word, a homophobic slur in the San Diego minor league game, and Landon Donovan was coach. He took his whole team and they abandoned the match. They walked off the field. And they're like, we can't support this behavior. Bye. And they were about to do the same thing today. And I'm like, yeah, I'm all about it. Do something about it. So figure it out. Figure it out. Fans in the stands, you know, I want to say there was an unfortunate incident at the Gladbach Champions League game or Europa League game, I believe it was, or something. Maybe I'm mixing up. There was some game in Germany. Maybe it was Frankfurt. Maybe it was Gladbach, where there was a Nazi salute somewhere. And it's like, you know.
Oh, this was in Spain, right? Like,
was in Spain?
Yeah,
was Atletico versus Bayer Leverkusen? I don't know what it was. It was some European game between a German club in Spain, and from the German supporters, he did Nazi salute. That's what I heard. And it's like, listen, we love the game, we love the sport, we'll watch it, but there's no point to call someone a monkey. There's no point to bring up World War II, the Nazis. There's no point to criticize people of things they do not choose. You know, so like we should be past that. Like we can love the game, but it's important for us not to become a lowest common denominator and go at each other in inappropriate ways. NYCFC has had problems in the past with that, with their fan club affiliations with guys from Proud Boys and other organizations like that, you know, with all sorts of stuff. And you know, the constant fight with this P chant that we have in the
well, I mean, it's
crowd.
real. Yeah. Okay.
It just, I'm just bringing up a lot of stuff, but it happens often. And it's just like, don't cross a line, man. Just be a reasonable adult. Enjoy the game. If you're a player and you're angry, don't use that word. It's not his fault. You know, like don't use that word. And if you're a professional making your $1 million a year and you go to call that kind of word, I have no problem his contract being canceled and let go. Let him deal with the embarrassment of being a racist. Let him go back home being like, oh, I was fired because I'm racist. You know, and let another club choose to sign him or not. You know, imagine if at work. Imagine if I'm at my job and during a conference meeting, a company meeting, I call someone the N-word in front of everybody and be like, you son of a bitch, you blah, blah. You know what I mean? I'd get fired.
Yeah.
Wouldn't I get fired for that?
For sure.
So why are soccer players any different? What's up?
Right. No.
Yeah, probably set the counseling or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I don't disagree. It's anger. It's an anger that leads to stuff that needs to be dissolved with. So I'm very curious what this is. I don't know. Will it be a fine? We'll see what happens. But let us see. As fans, let us see. Share it with us. Say we're investigating. Like let us see the whole show is my sort of side soapbox here. Let the fans see the whole show.
All right.
Okay. All right. Any last thoughts or anything on the German-American soccer experience on that note?
I don't think so.
On that note, to be better, for everybody to love each other, and you know, let's all do it. Let's all do it.
Don't do stupid stuff.
I mean, we didn't even get into Qatar. Grant Wall came and interviewed all the workers there.
That's
hatred. The hatred. There's so much hatred. There's so much abuse in the world. Come on, everybody. Let's love each other. Let's not stepping on each other. Let's love each other. The message from the Schnitzel boys is spread the love. Spread the love. Hug a neighbor, hug a friend. All right, everybody. We'll see you all next week. Next week, I'll have gone to a Rammstein concert.
Oh, hey!
So I'll be able to share that.
That's the way to spend the international break. You go to Rammstein.
Rammstein. USA will have played Japan, I think, maybe in Germany at some point. I believe where they're playing.
I have not even paid any attention about these friendlies, but I will take a look.
No, well, that's the problem. And Germany is playing Hungary, I think, or some. I don't know who they're playing. But we'll take a look. We'll have fun. We'll see you all next week. Cheers.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.